Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be trying to put together the Re-Rising Gundam, which is a combination of the 4 Build Divers mobile suits. This looks pretty cool, it's big and it's awesome, and I think it's just about time to put them together. Did I miss a step? Because it doesn't look right. Yeah. Oh, wait, you mean those build divers? Oh well, here we go. Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another Gunpla review, and today I'm taking a look at the high-grade Re-Rising Gundam, which of course is a combination of 4 kits we've seen already. That is Core Gundam II, Valkylander, the Wodom pod, and the high-grade Aegis Knight. If you want any of these kits and more, then you can get them exactly where I did, which is through HobbyLink Japan. Link is down there in the description, as well as your 5% off coupon. Now here we go. So right here, I've got the entire squad together. This is all of the build divers from Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise, not the build divers from Gundam Build Divers. Yeah, don't make that mistake. So in order to build this ultimate mobile suit, you're going to need these 4 kits already that I just mentioned, but once again, that is this right here, which is the high-grade Uraben Gundam, or Ureven Gundam, which, once again, if you want to see the video of that, the full review of that, you can check that out right now. We only need the Core Gundam from that. We need the SDX Valkylander. Once again, if you want to see the whole review of that, that is on here as well. We need the Wodom pod back here, one of my all-time favorite Gunpla from this particular series. Once again, full review on the channel right here if you want to check that out, and the same goes for the high-grade Aegis Knight, which went up a couple of nights ago. It is the high-grade Aegis Knight that comes with the parts for using with this, as well as the instructions, so let's take a quick look at that first. So as usual, if you want to read any of this stuff, you can just pause and read at your own leisure. This is all the blurb about the Re-Rising Gundam itself. Once again, this particular leaflet came in the box of the high-grade Aegis Knight, and we've got some information on the Re-Rising Gundam itself. If you have not seen the series, I do recommend checking that out first, because this is an absolutely major spoiler, and we've got some info on its big old attack, which is the Grand Cross Cannon. The only other feature this particular kit has is the Hyper Beam Sabers. Once again, these would have been included with the Uraben Gundam, I assume. There is the specs of this particular mobile suit, in case you love those particular details. And finally, we've got some information on this being the key to uniting all of the Gunplas. Anyway, if you want to read all of that, just pause and read. Now here we go. So when it comes to Gunpla, especially high-grade Gunpla, this is quite an involved transformation. It is 4 kits after all. So the first thing I will mention is the instructions are not as clear as I would have hoped they would have been. They're not the worst, but I did find that I missed this section where you spin around the bottom section of the Wodom pod, because it looked like it wanted you to do something with the side skirts, not the Wodom pod itself. On top of that, this transformation is meant to combine all of these kits' strengths into one awesome, almost super robot, but what it tends to do is compound a lot of their most infuriating aspects, which is their loose parts, finicky bits, and kind of gimmicky aspects that have been added to the mobile suits to make them a little cooler. But in the end, when you do finally pull it all together, it is kinda cool. I will, however, mention that this right here was my first time putting this together, which is what I usually do for these reviews, just to comment on how I found it the first time, so I'm sure any subsequent transformations will be a little bit more streamlined. But anyway, that right there is the Re-Rising Gundam put together. No, that's it there, sorry. I can barely tell them apart, they're both almost completely identical. But anyway, this right here is what the Re-Rising Gundam looks like, finally put together from all 4 kits. Moving right into that full 360-degree spin of the high-grade Build Divers Re-Rising Gundam, and I have to say, I actually dig this. It looks pretty cool. The only thing that is a big letdown, and I thought this would be the case, is the fact that it uses the SDX Valkylander parts, because SD parts are not very nice looking. From the front, the wings look okay. From the back, anything from the Valkylander looks horrendous. It's got those hollow parts, just awkward geometry, and not very niceness that is standard with an ST kit. But ignoring those, the combination of the Core Gundam II, the Aegis Knight, and the Wodom pod is pretty awesome. Now the one thing I really want to know about this is what the articulation is like. Anything I've seen of this so far is just this pose you're seeing right here. And because this thing comes with no accessories, I won't be talking about any accessories, but let's take a little bit of a closer look at some aspects of this before moving on to the articulation, because that's what I want to see. So first off, I'll mention that pretty much everything on this is straight built with panel lining besides the parts that came from the Aegis Knight. If you saw that review, I did give that a flat top coat because flat top coat looks astounding. And honestly, it makes me want to flat top coat everything I own right now, but that's why that looks so much nicer than the plastic parts, say on the Wodom pod, but that would look equally as cool if you hit that with a flat top coat too. That would also take away some of the loose aspects that I have found have arisen over time in the Core Gundam II parts. There is a bit of a hollow part in the front of the fists. It's not the worst, but it would have been nice to see it without that. Some of the colors on this, especially the purple on the armored parts of the Wodom Pod 2, don't really gel together with the rest of what we're seeing here, but that can always be painted. You may actually like it, but this is a kit I cannot wait to see some custom colors of, especially something that will bring it all together a little better than the individual colors of the kits that are here. Moving right on into that shelf presence test, and as you'd expect, this thing does quite well. It's big, up on a stand, over the top, and even though this display right here is mainly master grade, some perfect grades up top, it still holds its own pretty well. This is in and around the size of a master grade kit. So once again, I have to say, this is impressing me on the aesthetic level in ways that I didn't think that it would. I am digging this so far, but I'm still wondering about that articulation. So yeah, although I did say there isn't really any accessories with this, I guess there is because we have some leftovers from the whole transformation. Let's take a look at them one by one. First up, we've got a wingless Valkylander with that little pistol knife thing. This is just ex-Valkylander once again. What is left of it after all of the transformation, which is just the SD Gundam pretty much itself. Next up, we've got this right here, which is the third transformation I mentioned in the high-grade Aegis Knight review. This is the Core Fighter, so this is what is left of our Aegis Knight after all the parts are used on the Re-Rising Gundam here. So this can be attached onto an action base and displayed flying along beside your high-grade Re-Rising Gundam. Last up then, we've got the beam effects from your Evan Gundam. Of course, all the armor is left over. You can assemble all of that onto the planet unit and display it in here as well. But for now, I'm just going to attach these. So these just pop between the toes of the Aegis Knight. Or not. I said these just pop between the toes of the Aegis Knight. Hell, let's try the other one. These just pop between the toes of the Aegis Knight. Alright, let's try the other foot. These just pop between the toes of the Aegis Knight. Whoa. Okay, I feel like I'm doing something wrong here. Not according to the instructions. Okay. Maybe Re-Rising Gundam right here just doesn't like the color. So let's try one of these. So yellow one. Pop that in between the toes and... ooh, a bit floppy, but it's in there. Can you hold up? Can you hold up? Nope. How about a green one? Let's try popping that in there. Here we go, in between the toes. Can I hold up? Come on. Let's try this lighter colored pink one. Pop that in between the toes and... oh, nah. This is a little weird. Let me know down there in the comments if you've built your Re-Rising Gundam. Did you find these would not attach in there or not? Because these just don't want to stay. But anyway, moving on to what I really want to see here, and that is the articulation. The Wodom Pod had great articulation, the Aegis Knight had extremely good articulation, and the Core Gundam 2 had great articulation, but I found it start to loosen up a little bit over time, and the Valkylander, nobody cares. So because we've seen all of the articulation on this before in the individual kits, I'm not going to go through everything from the head down. The neck, of course, does have a giggity goo because of that polycap neck joint. The shoulder is your standard high-grade ball joint into a polycap socket. Everything is pretty much as we'd expect. The leg is what we saw on the Wodom Pod, just it's in a different attachment point, so everything is what we saw before. So let's try something a little bit different and do some test poses. So the first thing I was wondering about this kit was, can it stand up without the action base? Any picture I saw of it included the action base attached, so I was wondering, is it too hefty for those legs to hold up? And the answer is no, it can stand up fine. It's a bit of a tripod, it uses the tail back here to keep itself up, but it can stand there, and it is, besides the usual offenders, quite solid actually. So the next basic pose I wanted to try out with the Re-Rising Gundam right here is a standard crouch. As in a one-leg kneeling pose, like a shooting pose, the general thing you'd tend to do with a gunpla if it was aiming at something or just crouching. And the answer is, it can pull that off no problem at all. The legs of the Wodom Pod are great. They really do have a whole lot of articulation, and this has no issue at all. That is a decent crouch. The tail back here can even move up out of the way. So yeah, so far so good. The re-rising is holding up very nicely. Because I can't really think of any other cool poses that will use the legs, I'm just going to do the usual old tests of the kicks up to the front. It's a pretty much standard kick right there, looking hilarious. Snapdragon. But yeah, no issue with that. Out to the back. Pretty good. Can it pull off the splits? Looking like there's going to be no problem whatsoever. Yeah, the legs are awesome. So at this point, the structural integrity is starting to give out on me, mainly because of these super crappy shoulders from the Aegis Knight. But on ignoring them, we've got some great arms. It's the usual polycap shoulder, nice and tight once again because, oh, stay on there, will you? But anyway, as I was saying, the shoulder is nice and tight, it always was. On the Core Gundam II, we've got full rotation up here, a nice bend at the elbow, which used to be a knee, and the wrist is double jointed because it did come from an ankle joint, so a ball joint up top and a ball joint at the wrist. There is no ab crunch whatsoever, but that is to be expected with a kit that, well, has to put up with so much on here. On my own little re-rising Gundam right here, the general ab crunch was a bit of a problem with the stuff attached onto his back, so I had to end up attaching all the stuff to the back of the Momoka pool here and attaching the 00 Sky inside of Momoka pool with these set of adapters that came with another kit that I don't remember. So I had another couple of questions myself about this particular Gundam, like, can those hands actually carry anything? They've got some kind of a hole in them, is that functional, or just some kind of cost-cutting measure? So grabbing that beam saber from back there, come on, come on. No, seriously, come on. There we go. Pop that beam in, and can it hold a beam saber? So, well, let's try that again. That's debatable. So technically it is holding that beam saber. Is it holding it right? Well, no, not necessarily, but it is holding a beam saber. Once again, it's not holding it the right way, but, you know, it's still able to hold on to it in a really kind of strange, wonky, awkward way, which, is fitting, I guess. And this kind of leads into question the second that I had. How REBAKE is this kit? AKA, can you use the arms up and the shoulders in a cool kind of four-armed Asura kind of way? So these shoulder segments are attached into the upper part of the arm, which means these do not move independently anymore. Well, but can we get any sort of poses? So you can rotate the arm out a little bit, but you've lost a lot of the articulation up here. You can move that ball joint, it is weak, but hey, we're getting a little something out of that. Reposition the second one there, put it out. Ooh. Looks like we're gonna need more beam sabers. Let's bring in Core Gundam, steal a couple of his handles. Man, handles aren't coming off today. 1 and 2. Get them all beamed up. And there we go. The answer is this kit rebakes extremely well. So sure, these arms up here, these cannot actually move around so much. So maybe, just maybe, they're more suited to some guns. So guns we do indeed have. So let's get this thing armed up. Say goodbye to those beam sabers. Can these hands actually hold some guns? Hey, what do you know? Once again, not great, but it is holding them. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there we go, Gundam Re-Rising REBAKE. So once again, it doesn't hold these guns all that well, but it can hold them. We'll make a fairly silly yet awesome display, but it is not going to have any kind of a play factor like this because, well, these arms up here, these do not do anything, and these are barely held in the hands whatsoever. Pretty damn cool they can do it though. So that right there is it for the review, and in case you're more curious about what sort of poses this thing can pull off, I'll throw a couple up right now of it rotating, but it can't really do a whole lot. This is a kit mainly for display, or should I say, this is an option you get from having 4 kits that is mainly for display. That makes this very hard to rank. If this was a standalone kit, I don't know how I would rank it, because if you could pull it apart, build the other Gundams out of it, then that would make it pretty cool, right? So I am not going to rank this right here. It's just so unusual. So just to break it down, the best thing to say is if you love all 4 of these kits, if you love Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise, then this is a super awesome extra you get if you have all of the kits. Honestly, I do adore this. It's so daft, but awesome all at the same time. It makes a great display, it's pretty big for a high grade, and we've never ever seen anything remotely like this in high grade ever before. Never mind high grade, I don't think we've seen a combining Gundam like this in any grade before. I honestly would love to see more of this sort of gimmick in future. Combining Gundams is an awesome concept. Anyway, if you do want any of these of your own, there's a link down there in the description. You can get those at HobbyLink Japan. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for that weird golden one that's going to be coming out sometime next month, the month after. Either way, come back for that, and I'll see you next time. Once again, I cannot finish this video right here without thanking each and every one of you guys. Whether you just watch my videos, like them, or support the channel on the channel memberships and over on Patreon. Like Craig Jerry, Greg Humphrey, Kaiser721, Tyler Sanders, Caleb Engelhardt, Sean T, and the ambassador for asymmetric cats.